So today we're playing around with the extremely funkadelic and 70s Moog Grandmother mono synth. What is amazing about the Grandmother is it's obviously an all-in-one, beautiful sounding mono synth, and it's semi-modular as well, so you can patch it in, patch it into itself, and patch it into modular synths. But the kind of most amazing thing is inside. So what the Grandmother is made up of are the circuits inherited from their legacy modular systems. So I'm talking like the mega telephone exchange, world-endingly awesome Moog modular synths you will have seen. It's those circuits which have informed the designs of the Grandmother. Absolutely classic stuff in there, and things like the filter, and especially things like the VCA and the mixer. Now, it sounds weird to talk about a mixer as the most exciting thing in a synth, but the mixer that's in the Grandmother is based on the CP3, and if you have ever played with a CP3, I would say it's a huge contributing factor to the tone of the modulars. It's what makes them sound so warm and driven, because when you turn that mixer past even 9 o'clock and certainly past 12 o'clock, it drives. Every sound becomes warm and driven, and it contributes to the Grandmother having this really pronounced warmth and traditional sort of 70s vibe. Grandmother's just a really unique design. It is giving you access at a crazy price to the circuits that are really only otherwise available in their modular systems, which are, we're talking tens of thousands of pounds as a starting price. And to that, you're adding semi-modular capability so that you can really just get sounds quickly, immediately, begin to gain muscle memory and learn the machine and play it in a flash. But you can then expand it. It becomes a springboard so that you can start your kind of modular adventure. It could be the first sort of thing that you own, and it will give you a really, really nice foundational point. Just sit down, put a pair of headphones on, and just start exploring and go from there. So if you look at the Grandmother's panel and you compare it to the modules on the modular synths, you'll notice that they basically have the same ins and outs as you would find on the larger legacy modular systems. There's a few utilities and other nice things that have been added in to make your life easier. There's a multiple so that you can take a signal and you can actually create a copy of it. And there's also a high pass filter. So if you want to take some of the low end out and just clean up the signal, you can use that there as well. Plus, there's an attenuverter, which is basically a function so that if you wanted to modulate one thing with another, the attenuverter just lets you make sure you don't just have full strength modulation going in. It lets you just dial in a tiny bit positive or negative and get exactly the control you want. And if you look around the back, there's some nice extra stuff, like, for example, that spring reverb tank that we mentioned. You can actually tap that individually. So you could be using the Grandmother to create a synth sound, and you literally can send a completely independent signal through the spring reverb tank and then independently send it out from the Grandmother to something else. The other thing is that the input on the Grandmother is designed for instrument level. So you can plug guitars in, you can plug drum machines in, you can plug your voice in or what have you, and use the Grandmother as a processor. You know, like folks have been doing with modular synths for decades. Use all of that power and modulation and flexibility to process other things and imbue the kind of mad 70s stereo lab vibes into whatever else you have lying around in the studio. You'll be able to hear this from the video. You don't really need me to say it, but you know, personally, I was struck when I first saw the thing of how it looks. I absolutely love the design because to me, I own a lot of synthesizers, stuff from, way back from 1982 till to 2018, and nothing really looks like that. That just, to me, says that's a device that I just want to have in my studio, and I just want to, it makes me want to play with it. And then as soon as you actually hear the thing, it satisfies that sort of deep need for a kind of, when we think of analog synths, we think of this sort of warm, vintage, old school, spooky vibe, along with tons of bass and funk and soul and character. And this just does that just to such a great degree. It absolutely does it. If you're new to analog synths, and you've been craving something that will inject character into what you do, then, I think you'll be very happy. And if you have got a bunch of analog synths and you've perhaps found that it hasn't been giving you the vibe that you've wanted, and you've wanted something that's a little bit rounder and warmer and funkier and just got its own more of a personality to it, then you should definitely check it out.